Okay. Hello.
Hello.
To start off with, would you like to say your name and where you are?
I am Viktoras Keturakis, and I am from Lithuania.
Okay. And is that where you are right now?
Yes, I am in Vilnius, in the capital of Lithuania.
Okay. So the first question is, who are you as a human being? And that can be anything you'd like to share about your passions or your values or qualities about yourself.
Well, first of all, I am a human being. I like to be a person. I like to be involved with relationship with my wife. I am a husband. I am dad of a grown-up son. I am Lithuanian, which is important to me to be where I live, to know my roots and to be connected. So first of all, I am human being, a man, a husband, a dad, son, and lucky to still have my dad alive. So this is who I am, first of all.
And so what about those, maybe some roles in your life? And also what about some qualities about yourself as a person?
It's a difficult question with the roles. I hear people saying, and sometimes I used to recognize that as I said, I work a lot, so I am professional. I am a psychologist, psychotherapist, Gestalt psychotherapist. And also I am business consultant. I work with organizations. I am Gestalt therapy trainer. And so I used to teach at the university and do some teachings now. But on the other hand, I like to see myself more as a mentor, if you like. It's like a person who assists other people in their learning journey. If it is psychotherapy, or is it organizational learning, or is it personal learning? So for me, I like to call myself as a mentor, and I think it's the first time I articulate like that in here with you.
Okay, so what would you say are some of the values that you hold in these different areas of your life?
Well, the primary value for me is the connection, or the relationship and connection. So being able to be interested and surprised by people and by life in general. So curiosity is the primary one, and to sustain that and to develop in me, and also love and warmth towards people. I think these are two main. Love, it goes all together: warm feelings, respect, curiosity, wanting to support people, and also not to respect their privacy. So there are many things, but I recently went to supervision. I was supervised by the other person, and I was discussing difficult case with one of my clients. And I was surprised when my supervisor asked me about my love, which I didn't feel for that person. And I thought, is it connected with Gestalt? But I like the question. I really appreciate she asked me that, but I think that's one of my core values, is to develop my sense of warmth and love for as many people as I can. Different, very different.
You mentioned, and one of your colleagues mentioned as well, being Lithuanian as a specific experience. I'm just wondering what that is for you.
I think when I mentioned that, I understand that I come from the history of not allowing ourselves to be Lithuanian from Soviet times. So having this freedom to call by who I am, part of the belonging to Lithuanian Republic. It doesn't mean that I am Lithuanian by nationality. It's my citizenship, but it is important. Mm-hmm. It's not a given. It doesn't mean that I may lose it very easily. So I really value that I have this luxury to be free to call myself like that and not be afraid, and to be proud, and not to be afraid of being blamed to be nationalistic, or to being blamed that I am ruining the Soviet story or Soviet fairy tale. So being free. So I don't do it on everyday basis, but when I speak to people from other countries like you or from other part, this part of me identity comes up very easily. We are not many of us, and I am glad. I'm proud of how we live our life, how we create the state. It's a kind of common project for 3 million people to develop and prove to us and the world that we can live together as Lithuanians or Lithuanian citizens, whether we are Jews or Russians or Polish, but still as a Lithuanian citizens.
So another aspect of yourself, I'm curious sort of a little bit more about your own personal history. What would you say is an event in your life or a set of circumstances that has really shaped you or influenced you significantly?
Yeah, one thing that comes out to my mind is I was in my teenage years. I was attending a drama circle or drama club, learning to act on scene, and I was very shy and closed and feeling kind of very not shameful, but like very uncomfortable going out. And I remember very clearly the experience when I was coming out on the stage trying to be, I think, the goose, but it sounds funny in Lithuanian. It doesn't sound funny in English, but the goose is the person who is kind of the one that you can laugh at. And I was going out and at the same time showing myself as a goose, and at the same time being very shy about that. So showing and hiding. And I did it many times because the leader was or the trainer was asking to repeat because it was not perfect. And I got really pissed off and I was really frustrated by the situation. And then I came out with as an angry goose or frustrated goose. And that was beautiful. She said, here you are now real. And this sense of paradox of going through difficult place, but then coming out of that, I think it was ingrained in me that there are difficulties. It's even difficult to put into words, but I think this sense of discovery, I think it stayed with me, that I can come out of myself as I am, as if I am leaving out the old skin and coming out as a new one. And I was not reflecting that. That was still frustrating experience afterward. But later, I could feel that I'm more free with my peers, and I could feel that I was coming out not only as a goose but also as Viktoras. That was one thing that this story still is in me very, very much.
It sounds like a bit of authenticity, sort of that coming out as yourself.
Yeah. And I could remember me going also already for Gestalt training and having these moments of coming out. So the story of me coming out of my loneliness and isolation in the way I was living, in a way safe, but also sad and closed, it was important journey in my life. And I do become sad from time to time, and I do feel lonely from time to time. And I also have in my memory that I have been very much connected to people, that people care about me and I care about them. And this memory fills me in with some sense of relaxation, that even in the moments of loneliness, I will not forget, or I may not forget the moments of connectedness. So I think this story is related to how I later lived my life, I think.
Sorry, the dogs are coming out now.
Yeah, but that's life.
It's authentic, right? So another question is, who else have you met in your life who has been an influence on you somehow? Another person.
That's quite a difficult question. I remember I was being interviewed by one of the peers, psychologists, psychotherapists in Lithuania from Jungian perspective, and they were doing research on the important figures in my life. And I was remembering that in a way I was not recognizing them, but I did met people. So first of all, the first person is my wife. So she's definitely, it's not only the passion and love, but it's also life that I share with her, and also the struggles and the discoveries, the fullness of relationship. And I think I am still learning a lot of me not coming out and then coming out and then getting some encounters and then coming back. But I feel I am a lucky one to have met her. So this is the most important person in my life that I've met. And it's difficult even to put into words, but this fullness of connection with all the colors, and bright and dark, and passion and anger. But it's easier to tell, but more difficult to live through sometimes, and to stay with that. And I appreciate that we stay in that. And I love her, and I'm grateful to her. And I think I haven't appreciated a lot in my professional life how much I carry the lessons from my personal connection with her to other people. So it's not only Gestalt therapy training, that training, but learning the relationship in the relationship. So this is the first person. I think the other person that had a big influence on me, well, I'm sure it's my mom. I think that she loved me so much unconditionally. She had all different colors, but she was so much devoted with me. And the moments of the connection for us, it was still the last minutes of her life, is spending time together at the food, eating together, sharing the food, sharing the bread. I think I will carry this as a symbolic moment of give from her heart, and me taking in and appreciating. It was in a simple terms, but very, very close to flesh, or very, very. So I carry her love as even without understanding me, that I am good enough as I am. So I think this moment of each time when I am in a shaky situation, I always remember, not like rationally, but there's deeply in my heart that I am, at least was one person in my life that I was good as I am, and I could be feeded and taken care. So this sense is the most important in my life. So she's not alive. She died 5 years ago, but her love is in my heart, and I become tender when I speak, and yeah. I keep loving her back, and I carry this pressure. So these are several people that I think of.
Sounds very nourishing.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, she is in my mind. She's not there around. Mm-hmm. And of course there are more colors, and sometimes it was too much, but I will always value that it's better more than less. So for me, it's than absence. So.
Mm-hmm. So how about your age? Speaking of people who are coming and going, how do you understand and experience yourself at this point in your life? And what do you feel about the aging process in general?
It's new for me, and I'm still learning to live with that. I haven't learned many things. I just became 50, I don't know, a week ago, or like previous Saturday, not this one.
Happy
so
birthday.
Thank you. So it's quite fresh terms. And when I was coming to age, I was always counted how much is left. So when coming 50 and planning that I will be 100, I don't give many stakes on that I will be 100 years. So first of all is coming in terms with limitations, like understanding that I can't do that. And the same amount of energy, the same achievement that I used to do. So each activity, especially physical, is requiring some mental effort for me that I need to remind. It's not only that I like, but I need to remind to do exercise, to move, to do. And I like it, but I need to put an effort. On the other hand, what I noticed, and it's a funny thing, I noticed that I have too many stories to tell with too little ears to listen. And it's funny. I noticed that when I was doing workshop, and I understood that I need to limit myself and not tell as many as I would like to. Because when I started doing my job, I didn't have enough stories. I was quite empty. So now I have them, but they are maybe not necessary because it's a space for people to tell stories. It's not necessary for me to fill in all the spaces. So for me, it was a funny discovery about that.
That's
Another
interesting.
thing, it's interesting. I was so surprised. Very recently, last week, I was telling stories and people like, but I was thinking maybe I could tell twice as less, and that would be more interested with people.
I mean, it's kind of like having a much richer background, I guess. There's a lot more there.
Yeah. Also, what I like about the age is I have less duties than I used to. So my professional duties are there, but personal are not there. I don't need to take care of our son. He is grown up and worked for himself. So in a way, it's very relaxed relationship. I enjoy relationship. We talk to each other or together with family. But when we don't, I don't have to. I don't have to take care of or think of things or think about earning money that he needs. He has that. I also don't need to take care of our financial situation. We are lucky to have the house to live or the place to live, the food to earn. So I am earning money, but it's not a survival thing. It's not a thing that I need to do. When we started our family project, as you call, I was thinking of how to pay the debts and how to improve the quality and now I don't need to worry about that. So there is a sense of freedom in that I may do. This one thing that I am anxious about that is the question that's behind, am I living the meaningful life? Am I living something meaningful behind that? And that's a scary question. I tend to avoid it, but I keep coming back to it. So it's a kind of, I like it, but I don't know how to answer it. So it's a question without answer yet, with which I am living now.
So you're not just, paying the bills, it's creating a legacy and a meaningful life.
Yes, exactly. And I don't want to do it artificially. I don't want to do things like in a desperate way of leaving this legacy, but just living my life the way I like. So the thing I need to balance is how much pleasure, how much I go after pleasure and how much I go after meaningful or impactful activities. So this is, and how I can do in other ways than working, because working, it gives meaning a lot to my life, but also it takes away from me personally. Then I am not with family, then I'm somewhere else. And I am curious how I could do something meaningful and live my personal life, me with my friends, with my family, instead of going to work for meaningful activity. That's the dilemma I'm solving now.
So yeah, that's It's an interesting balance question, isn't it? It's about using yourself, not just as a work object.
Exactly.
Mhm. And so what about how, sorry, go ahead.
Yeah. Yeah, and it's an open-ended question. I am not in a balanced situation, but I like to have this question for me and get it from my peers, from my wife, from my friends.
So how do we, sorry, there's a dog on the street fighting with another dog, which makes my dogs upset. So in terms of gender and being a man, how have you come to understand and how do you experience yourself in that sense?
How I experience myself as a man.
Or in terms of gender or masculinity, what does all of that mean for you in your life?
Now, that's a difficult question. I've never explored much about that. I know, I understand, I come in terms that I really value the connection with men as well. Usually the way I experience my masculinity is being in relationship with women. So I know how to be, like from my relationship with my mother and then my wife. I had this legacy left that I need to be attentive and learn to recognize women and their needs and not to not to ignore them. So I feel quite safe and sensitive and attentive with women, and it's a familiar, easy place, and that's how I define myself as a man. And also, what I discovered that I am in a journey of recognizing the importance of the connection with other men, being a man, because my gender, I cannot recognize it without relationships, either with other men or women or non-binary, which is completely new thing for me, and I need to have more connection with people who don't see themselves in non-binary way, like gender. But with men, I really like being with men, and it's not safe. It's kind of a bit, sounds like a threatening, but also important, and it's more like challenging. So I think what I need more is to experience the challenge in a friendly way, challenge in a supportive but not dangerous way. Because the way I experienced challenge from my, I don't know, childhood, school years, it was challenging, but it sounded risky, or it sounded like survival challenge. And later in my life, I've encountered challenge which is refreshing, and it's friendly, and it's very much supportive and caring. And I recently had this experience.
Sort of like a challenge, more in a growth kind of way.
In a growth and caring way. So it's a challenge, but also at the other moment, it's a caring. So I understand that people care about my life, but also challenge me in a way that that I need to extend, or I need to learn, or I need to be more attentive. So for me, I think it's a learning part to be in men's company, and especially also warmth from men. I think I missed that in my life, in my childhood, and I'm very receptive to getting support and to get a touch and help and support from a man, which is very important for me to allowing in me. And I think that would be me allowing to expand my masculinity.
Okay. And so you've mentioned in some ways aspects of this, but how have you come at this point in your life to experience and understand power and privilege?
Yeah, that's a difficult question. I think I haven't come in terms. I've been in a privileged situation, being a man, being white, and living in a dominant situation, and being successful, I would say, like financially or economically. So I usually tend to ignore or not notice if someone reminds me. And it takes a while for me to kind of wake up and notice people who are underprivileged or not noticed. So I'm learning the language. I am learning to notice, and I am ready to be reminded. And I think the first time I've learned to notice and learn about that was during my studies in UK, in Scotland, in Edinburgh. Then there was so much attention to this topic in Gestalt training that I thought there must be reasons. So I had to write some essays, so explore books, and I was exploring around. And I was trying to bring this topic back home, and it didn't land. So it was not picked up. So I think it's still in a not fully aware zone. So the only person, or one of the moments when I am waking up, is when I have a relationship with my wife, with Vilja, who is a woman, and she gets into situations, or I usually may be competing with her and then not noticing that I am using my privilege and power in that sense. And then I'm kind of awake myself. So I think it's a difficult effort, that is a difficult endeavor constantly to be reminded by others or remind myself. So I am ready to do that, but it's not an easy activity.
Mm-hmm. And is there anything particular about power, your experience of having it or not having it in your life or in a larger context?
I'm thinking, when I remember in my school years, there was a lot of competition, and when we were as a kids learning to kind of developing our power against others. And the way I learned to do that is by avoiding direct encounter at some age, but also going into some indirect ways of being, trying to gain power by being smart, by studying and knowing things, or by being able to notice things that others don't notice, or by being able to express and do things what others can't do that. So it's in a way finding power not in a direct competition, but finding my own niche, as you like. But I have a very good memories, and I still remember our real power fights in childhood, when during the breaks, we were around 15 years old, so quite already grown-up teenagers. We would go outside in the courtyard, we would stand in a sandbox, a sand place, and we would call it horse fight, and four guys would get one on each other's shoulders, and then the others, and then we would try to the other pair to down to the sand in a safe way. And we made a good pair, me being quite light, so I could fight easily being on top. And down there was quite a flexy guy, and we would make a good pair. We were not the strongest, but we in a physical sense, but we were most flexible. We would stand the most imbalanced way. So I think this fight reminds me that my power is in flexibility, but not in sheer kind of strength.
It's also relational. It's in a team. That's interesting.
Yeah, it is very much relational, because I would not hold myself. I would have to free hands. So I was holding only with my legs, and he had to carry me. So I was quite relying on him instead of holding myself, but relying. If we fall, we fall. So relying on the guy who was, and we had to play a teamwork. So I know when to grab, and he knows when to move to pull the others down.
That's interesting. That is like a very real, very easy to imagine experience of power.
Yeah. And I miss this guy to talk about that, because I have this very vivid memories of enjoyment of the real power, physical power, and flexible.
Okay. So switching a little bit, how did you find Gestalt in all of this? Where did that come into your life?
I was studying psychology in 1989 to 1996. And there was a transition time. So the Soviet programs were over already and new ones were not built at the university. And our teachers were experimenting with us and trying out because we were living behind the Iron Curtain. So we knew about psychotherapy, all kinds of psychotherapies, and they knew from some information they could get. So they were very eager to teach and to try, and we were very eager to learn. So we went to all kinds of modalities, which later did not happen. I think later they reduced the scope of the teaching. But that time I was exposed to all kinds of things. And I remember very clearly Gestalt therapy group that I experienced at the university. It was our teacher, Professor Grażyna Gudaitė. She's now training Jungians and she's famous even worldwide. So because she combined Gestalt therapy as an introductory level and Jungian psychotherapy later on. It's amazing creative way of teaching psychotherapy. And she was doing psychotherapy group or Gestalt therapy group. And I remember we were tired from group to group and we came together with our peers. And we were not presented with any structure or structured questions. I think we started by laughing. Someone started giggling and then giggling went into laughing. And the beauty of all it, she allowed that to unfold. And that was beautiful. We were laughing to the moment. And I even don't remember how it transitioned or moved into work or piece of work or several pieces of work that was done. And I was fascinated by the, not the easiness, but the push way of moving in that. So it stayed in my memory very clearly. That was beautiful example of way of doing therapy. By allowing things to happen.
And so what brought you back to that? You said you were exposed to many things. So why did you come back and look for more in Gestalt? How did that happen?
And then I was working as a consultant because I had to earn money. So I graduated as clinical psychologist and I went to work with organizations because I wanted to earn money and to make my living, because I was thinking if I can't help myself, I can't help other people. And I don't want to be kind of dependent or on state or on small salaries. And I was longing for personal support. And Bob and Rita, they were coming to Lithuania to do some workshops. And it was associated with our the organization I worked at that time. It's called Human Studies Center. And the president of the center was personally affiliated with Bob and Rita. His name is Gintaras. He's professor or associated professor Gintaras Chomentauskas. And I couldn't participate in their workshop because I had to do the workshop myself for organization. But they put me on the list of Bob and Rita, and I started receiving invitations to events. And I thought, well, I like Gestalt. I don't know Bob and Rita, but I'm curious to try because I wanted, so the need was there. I needed something for nourishing for myself. And I decided to risk and apply for the workshop in Europe. And they accepted me and paid for my scholarship, so I could afford, because it was in Switzerland and we were kind of emerging economy, so we didn't have funds for that. And I was very grateful that they allowed me. And then I came and I liked it very much. And it's not that I could evaluate it, but the impact was very strong. I got connected to the experience, and I decided that I'd like to come back for my own personal nourishing. I was not planning to become Gestalt therapist. I liked what I got and I liked what I did there, and I was not choosing the professional path at that time.
So how did it affect you as a person? What happened? I mean, what happened to you? You don't have to tell me, what happened in the session.
I think it was happening the same of coming out. I remember the moments I did pieces of work with my trainers, like Serge Sibinski from Australia. He was once our trainer, and I did pieces of work with him, and I still carry in my heart this being connected, but also allowing myself to come out. And of course, I did come out very little as I see it now, but this moment, this sense of relief, this sense of excitement, this sense of inspiration, I think that was the moment. It was difficult to put it into words. I had no theoretical explanation, and actually I am very experiential. I like to try things not to understand. And understanding may follow, but I like to try them out and experience them. So I think I still remember the name of our group. It was called the Basic Group, and we were in the basement, so we called ourselves Basement Group. And it was 7 or 8 of them. I remember all our names of people there. So it was years ago, but they are special people to me. And I was even shy to acknowledge the importance. I remember they were reaching out to connect, and I was kind of hiding. So it was both the excitement and shyness to allow these people and allow myself to be connected and impacted, which I later learned on the way. But at that moment, it was very good and too much, and I like, but I am afraid. So it was both happening there.
And so I'm curious also what you have done and what you do with the Gestalt that you have taken in over the years. I mean, what is sort of the essence or the particular nature of your work?
Mm-hmm. As I said, for me, Gestalt therapy is experiential, first of all. So it's the experience that matters. And it doesn't mean that experience that you need, all kinds of experience. It can be in activities, but it can be in relationship, in a short moment, in a view, in a notice. There are moments of experience. It doesn't mean that it has to be a lot. It has to be, for me, it's a moment of experience that that impacts people, and impacts both the client and myself. So first of all, for me, it's experience. And the other part that is important for me is trying to, not to understand, but to feel and to follow the path of meaning making that people make. Is this phenomenological exploration, which is not only Gestalt. I've been studying phenomenological inquiry in my studies from my colleague Viktoras, the author with whom I work. So I was familiar with the method as a scientific method, and it still fascinates me. It's the effort to follow the thinking and the experience of the other person. It demands a lot, and it's a good exercise. It makes me always ready to be. It's an exercise that demands energy and involvement from my side and commitment. So this is, for me, is Gestalt therapy. It's experiential and the effort to understand the other person.
Okay. And what would you say some of the challenges that you've run into have been? What have been some of the difficulties or the...
Yeah, the challenges for me is when I try to understand the other person, am I understanding myself at that moment? So the challenge is to balance the both, because sometimes I'm so much absorbed with the other that I leave out myself. And the moment of timing, the moment of knowing when and how to remember myself and come back. So the moment when I remember, and if I do, and I can be moving between or shuffling between the like those two, then this is the challenge for me. Sometimes I remember, but sometimes it's too late, or sometimes I forget for a long time. So it's the most important. So when I remember myself, then I can take care of myself, support myself, and understand and recognize. And then I decide bring myself in or not. Then it's the second. But notice myself at the moment when I am following the other person or trying to understand the moment. That's the challenge.
Okay. And I guess speaking about self and others, would you say that you feel like you're part of a Gestalt community? Does that mean anything to you?
That's a tricky question. And that's why I am in and not fully in. I'm kind of afraid to acknowledge I am the person of Gestalt community. Now I am affiliated, and we have established our institute together with Vitalia Dialogas. We have association of Lithuanian Gestalt Psychotherapy Association, and I'm going to represent it outside. I am affiliated with Gatla and go there as a group leader, and on the other hand, I kind of get kind of tense. I am half foot there and half foot out there.
I'm curious what the scary part of that is, or what you pull back from.
There are things that I don't like in Gestalt way. I don't like this esoteric mood or enjoying so much the theory that they get absorbed. I like to be simple and sometimes simplify or too simplify. And then I don't know if I can belong like that, or do I have enough to say if I speak in a very simple terms and don't bring a new theoretical insight, which I don't aspire to. I like what I do. I like to reflect. I'm eager to reflect in collective endeavor, and I don't want to sell myself or to promote myself as a kind of as a Gestalt therapy scholar. I know I am teacher. I know that people like to teach, and I know that I have a name around by others, and I don't want to put too much effort to sell, to persuade, to fight for some theoretical concepts, which I don't. For me, they are secondary.
Okay, yeah, that's fair. So what is it that you would like to do? Where do you see yourself going? I mean, you've talked about looking for this meaningful project. Do you have anything clear that's coming up for you that you would like to move to in the future?
I think it's a bit related or similar to what you do. So you go with talking to people about humans of Gestalt, and I would like to create a space, but physical one. Maybe not in a cold country of Lithuania, maybe more south and where people like to be, but to have a space where people can come and share and think and create. And it's not that I have a very direction what they have to create. I think it's building relationships, and maybe they can build something out of that. For me, the dream is to create a space where people can meet. And if something happens out of that, that's good. But without requirement. If not, it doesn't happen, they are just having a good time. That's good enough reason for me to have a space of kind of hosting. I would have a dream of hosting a bit wider space.
Sounds lovely. It does sound like what I like doing as well.
Yeah, that's how I got involved, and I thought, okay, if I want that, I want to try about humans and what you are doing.
Okay. So where do you think, I know you just said that you don't want to be, a scholarly visionary or anything, but where do you think Gestalt could go moving forward?
when I look around and see psychotherapists developing, they are moving towards more technical techniques defining, and it's amazing. I just recently noticed the article in aeon.co article called chair work, and it's an article about the person who does the psychotherapy method called chair work. He's with Gestalt background, but also schema therapy. And I think this example triggered in me that for Gestalt therapy, it needs either to be more well-defined ways of working, which is better defined, and it's not techniques, it's relationship. And I think we have the strength of defining the dialogue and defining the relationship. So even defining some in more details, the way that relationships are built up or ruptured, and some giving more defined way, and expanding it to the wider field, not only to therapy. And I see that happening. I know that we met in Intagio and also for organizations. And I believe the future is for organizations, in the organization. And I don't know if it would be called Gestalt, because Gestalt is a kind of fancy word, but complicated word. Sometimes I'm thinking.
It was a really bad marketing decision to call it that.
Exactly, but to call it as a dialogue in organizations or personal work, I know there's a huge need. It's a huge need for the attitude and the skills and the way and the way of being, where people can feel that they are met, appreciated, encouraged. And I know that when I offer time, leaders or directors are hungry for that. They are not bothered with Gestalt. They are interested in the relationship, in us personally, and the way they could learn from us. So I believe if it could be developed into some kind of organizational approach, well-defined with good marketing words, clear and inspiring vision, it could get a good transition.
That's interesting. I'll see if you figure that out before anybody else does.
And yeah, I am in the path of that. We are doing with colleagues, and we are thinking of developing some organizational projects. And I want to kind of blend in the name without trying to preserve the kind of original terms, but giving the references, but using in our organization.
Okay. And you said something interesting, and I don't want to miss that opportunity. You said you had too many stories. I really like storytellers. So I'm wondering if at this point there's a particular moment that is coming up for you as an experience you've had that stays with you that you would like to share.
There's one story that comes out quickly because I've been exercising it, and I'm exercising the story of memory. So reminding myself what kind of replaying my memory. And the story is about remembering my grandmother. It's not my parents only, but my grandmother. And what is important about her, it's very similar. My grandmother was, she passed away also years ago, but she was a Jew. She was the Holocaust survivor, the only one in her family. And then she had 2 daughters and husband, and she outlived them all. So, and also she had a cancer diagnosis years ago in 1960s, and she managed to live that through. So her I can't say passion for life, but her determination to live. At the same time, she was very much hiding out. So I discovered her real name when I was only 16 years old. And the story was, I was hungry for books, so I was reading everything I could get into my hands on. So I read our library, and then I found that there were back books, the books behind the other backs. They were kind of hidden. They were not kind of. So I found them, and they were Soviet propaganda stories. There were stories about Soviet partisans and how they fought Nazi. And my parents had these books, but they were not interested into reading because they were nicely made, rough stories, but nicely colored. And there was some juice into them. But anyway, I was reading anything. I was not selective. And when I was reading one of the episodes about the partisans and something happening, I found my grandmother's family name. But the name was different. I thought it might be a different person. But then I found the husband, my grandfather, and it was his name. And I just couldn't make meaning. So my grandmother was Mary. Everyone was calling her Mary. In Lithuanian, Maria, Marita. But the name there was saying Yocheved, which is Jewish name. And then when I was 16 years old, and then I discovered that the person I am living with in the same flat, seeing many times a day and talking and being fighting and whatever. And I didn't know her real name and actually her real story. I didn't know that she was a Jew, and I didn't know that she had Jewish name. And it took me another 20 years to get to the stories of her. So first of all, I discovered her name and then I figured out, but there was no much to tell me. Well, she's a Jew, so what? And the life goes on. And then it took me some time. I had to finish psychology and learn the interviewing skills and learn the trust that she could trust her stories to me, which are amazing stories. They are stories about how she loved life and not about how she hated Nazis, which I like about her, and I still flourish. So for me was a discovery that living together with a person, it may be possible that I may not know even the real name. So it's very symbolic. It's real and it's very symbolic.
And I think it is beautiful the way that you find a way in to her life and are able to share.
Yeah. I know that I carried this interest slowly. It was there. I knew that I am very curious about what it meant to her. And I know that she was very closed up for a reason. Mm-hmm. She was not giving away her stories because she didn't want to get into trouble in Soviet times. And later she just was in a habit of not telling. Mm-hmm. Because it was not safe to be a Jew in Soviet times as well, not only in Nazi, in the wartime.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's interesting how you described yourself as curious and loving and caring and warm. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. I think that might be the way that you get into places.
Yeah, that's
interesting. Well, thank you for sharing that.
Thank you for asking.
So is there anything else that you would like to add? I don't have any more questions for you at this point, but I would love to have more conversations with you at some time.
Yeah, I'd love to. I feel touched. I appreciate your interest, and I feel like I'm telling stories, but I am living them here with you. I don't know if it's visible with my eyes, but I could feel that from time to time I get tender. Mm-hmm. And I like that. I like to tell the stories, but to be touched by them and by your interest, and it's precious. I appreciate it. And even that I could share the story, part of the story, with my grandmother, whom I feel that I accepted in my family and in my life, even living with her with your years, but it took time for me to allow her in.
Well, thank you. Is it okay with you if we leave this interview here for now then?
Yeah, yes, that's good.
I've really appreciated this.